So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And I'm super excited that my guest today is an immensely talented actor in the form of Joel Beckett. How are you, Joel? Welcome along.
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Happy Easter
Happy
and all
Easter
that.
to, yeah, happy Easter to yourself as well. It's been a bit of a mad one for us, but no, enjoying it. Have you been able to enjoy a bit of chocolate?
Yeah, I've refrained from the chocolate, but I have had a house full. Hence why I'm sort of sat in the garden while the whole family are still at my house. Yeah, hoping they'll be gone soon.
Now, obviously, there's so much to talk about with you today, but let's start off with a project that's quite recent to yourself. And I mean, The Feud on Channel 5. What a drama, what a series.
Yeah,
First of all, tell us, how did you become involved with that series? Because as I say, it is huge at the moment.
yeah. Well, I got involved with this. My best mate, who I went to drama school with, Ashlyn Ditter, wrote the feud. And over a beer, I think he said, "Do you fancy being in it?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do. It'd be amazing because it's been 30 years since we were at drama school together." And so yeah, the idea of like finally we get to work together. 30 years later, he's a successful writer. I'm still in it, still doing what I'm doing, trying to keep working, and we just thought it'd be lovely to be able to do that. And the only sad thing was that he wasn't able to get on set when I was there because my all my scenes are in the courthouse, so I was in and out in 2 days. I was done. So yeah, it was great. It was a great thing to be part of.
It must be nice to be able to kind of see your sort of, counterparts and people that you, like you say, you've known for 30 years having this success as well. Are you quite proud of that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, whenever it's a bit like being a young actor is a bit like being at school with your schoolmates. You kind of see each other on the circuit, and then a lot of people disappear. A lot of people you don't see, and those few that go on and do incredible things. It's amazing. So yeah, I do. I think there's a real sense of pride, but I also think it gives you hope still. It creates that sense of hope that maybe one day you'll keep going and there'll be that step up for you and that job for you because this industry, it doesn't go like that. It is, I mean, it's full of peaks and troughs, and I often think that people do underestimate the amount of rejection and sort of disappointment that actors face on a daily basis. So yeah, when you see someone doing well, yeah, it feels good.
And obviously starring alongside Jill Halfpenny. And I'm trying to remember because you were both on EastEnders. Were you on there at the same time? I'm trying to
Yeah, we
remember.
were. Yeah, we were, we were actually. And I mean, we didn't cross over. I think I just started and Jill was just leaving. So I didn't know each other that well, but I do remember that I played a prank on Jill on EastEnders. I'd just done a film, Green Street, and Mark Warren had taught me this uh, amazing this prank about mind reading. So basically, you start, then you set up a little kind of sort of at the beginning of the week saying, "Oh yeah, I can read minds, I can read minds," and you don't do it, but you find all this stuff out, and eventually at the end of the week, they say to you, "Well, go on, then do it." Well, you want me to read your mind, so they're asking you to do it, but you already know the information. And I did it on Jill, and it absolutely threw her. So I had to remind her of that when we met up again. Yeah, but it was great doing it with her. She's such a talent. So yeah, really pleased.
Now, obviously, The Feud is an amazing drama. And I mean, just for anyone who hasn't seen it, give us a little sort of synopsis of what it's about, and hopefully it'll encourage them to check it out because it is
I
fantastic.
mean, yeah, I mean, it's got all sorts of twists and turns, and I mean, I don't want to give too much away, obviously, um, but essentially, it revolves around a normal street with the goings on and the twitching curtains and the deceit between couples. What seems normal on the outside certainly isn't normal behind closed doors. There's a lot going, a lot of twists and turns. It's a really, really good plot, a really complex plot as well, and written superbly by Ash Ditter. So yeah, it's worth a watch. I know that much.
It's got an amazing cast. I mean, just to mention a few, like yourself, Jill Halfpenny, Larry Lamb, who's fantastic, Rupert Penry Jones, Chris
Tessa Peak
Gascoigne,
Jones,
Tessa Pete Jones, James
yeah,
Fleet.
yeah.
The
I
list
mean,
just
it's
goes
got
on.
Amy Nuttall. It's got loads of people in it. When you look at the cast, I remember the read through going, oh yeah, that's that. And I think that's a credit to Channel Five. I think Channel Five are absolutely leading the way with drama at the moment. They're creating they're creating drama that people really want to watch. That everyday story that is full of a great plot, good twists and turns, and that's what people want to see. And I think they're really doing it, and the viewing figures tell you that. And the fact that these dramas are being, they're being written and they're being produced over and over again to a very welcoming audience is a testament to Channel Five. So yeah, well done them.
And such high quality as well. They look very cinematic. They're fantastic. And as I say, they seem to get the casting right every time.
Yeah,
I mean, people like Jill Halfpenny. I know Joe Joyner's done a couple of the dramas. Angela Griffin, Tamsin
yeah,
Outhwaite. They've all really shone, and it just shows that Britain is just great at producing top quality drama.
it is. And I think that I think what Channel Five are doing really really well. And not just because I want another job, but I'm saying this genuinely. I think what they're doing really well is they're creating a really good package, which other broadcasters just either seem to miss, or it's just I don't know. It's just the same. You kind of see the same plot, the same thing, and these everyday stories that we can all relate to are really, they're really important, and they create great drama, great conflict. And as you say, yeah, you put that package together with the right cast, the right writers, and that's the other thing. The writing is brilliant. The production values are great. So yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, Channel Five, because it's definitely working.
Exactly. Obviously, if people want to watch it, the first five, the first three episodes are available to watch. The next three come out this week.
They
So
do.
keep an eye out. Channel 5 and obviously the Channel 5 on demand. I keep forgetting what it's called. My 5 or
My
something like that.
Five.
There we go. So check it out on there
Yeah.
because it's so good. Now let's go back and sort of talk a bit more about kind of how you first got into acting. Do you remember kind of where you got the bug, where that kind of love came from?
Yeah. Do you know what? Funnily enough, I was speaking to someone only the other night, and I do remember because I was telling them about it. I was seven, and because I knew that the reason I was talking about this is my daughter's just turning seven, and we've got to do a poetry recital with her. And she's brilliant. She's very funny, and she really wants to do it. So she was learning a kind of funny poem, and she asked me the same question as I was talking, and I said, yeah, well, when I was seven, I did my first school poetry reading, and there was a friend of my father's who was an amateur dramatics, and he helped me, and I did a piece by Stanley Holloway, an old musical piece called The Lion and Albert, and I can still remember it now, all those years later. And it gave me the bug, and I got there and I won the competition, and from that moment I was hooked. Yeah, I loved it. And then I was lucky enough to my school was really good at drama, and I ended up doing all the plays throughout drama throughout university. And then I think much to my dad's disappointment, when I left university, I sort of looked at him and said, "Dad, I want to be an actor. I'm going to go to drama school." And to his credit, he smiled and said, "Yeah, all right, son, do what you need to do." So here we are,
I was going to say
30
that
years later.
that must have been a real buzz, an amazing feeling to kind of have the support of family. And I mean, do you remember the first time being on stage and the feeling you got while you were on stage?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's a mixture of giddiness, silliness, fear, excitement. I imagine. I was lucky enough to go to Arsenal Real Madrid the other week, and I hadn't been to the Emirates. And I'm an Arsenal fan. I hadn't been to the Emirates for about seven years because I've moved out of London now. And the atmosphere was electric, and you looked at those players and you looked at those fans, and you could that sort of sense of excitement, and just it was palpable, and that's what it's like going on stage. So it's kind of like, for a sportsman, I imagine it's the same, just playing in one of those games like that, and for an actor, it's exactly the same. You get on stage, and it's before you go on, and the pressure that you put on yourself is unbelievable, really.
But
But
also with nerves, it really does show that you care because if you don't get nervous, you're probably in the wrong kind of area. You're maybe,
Yeah.
you're not getting that buzz or that enjoyment from it really.
Yeah, I do a lot of at the moment I do a lot of communications coaching. So I teach people to present better, and absolutely one of the things we teach is about embracing the nerves, embracing that excitement, and turning that fear into excitement and enjoyment. So it's possible, you can do it, and then your performance is better if you. I think we kind of, for some reason, I don't know whether it's a British thing, but we like to think that we like to that sort of sense. The British sense of humour is to see the guy next to you fall over, right? So it's that, oh, I'm going to do badly, I'm going to do badly, that imposter syndrome. And it's simply not the case. If you turn it around and you put it into excitement and go, I can do this, you can achieve amazing amounts of things.
It's amazing because say I've spoken to sort of Americans in the past, and they're all very much kind of sort of like everything's big and
Yeah,
bold, and that whole kind of that sort of British way of doing things, that some of them just don't get it. They just don't understand why we're like that. And
no,
like you say, it is a very British thing, and I don't know why, but we are very kind of, we
we're
don't like to
conditioned
big
to
ourselves
be.
up and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. We're conditioned to be reserved. We're conditioned to be second in the queue. We're all like that. We don't want to shout about things, but I don't think you have to shout about it. I think you just have to believe, and if you believe in what you're doing, and you've prepared, then you'll be fine.
Now, obviously for yourself, kind of, I imagine, did your life change a lot in sort of 2004 when EastEnders came along for you? Because that is a big show to become a part of, and you were on that show for 2 years. So was that a sort of a life-changing moment for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd had previously to that The Office, so I was kind of aware of what a successful TV show can do for you, but nothing prepared me for EastEnders really. And I do remember the lovely press office at EastEnders, and someone who's still there, Joel Beckett, still there, and she took me to one side and she said, "Look, I'm just telling you, tomorrow your life will be completely different." And I sort of, yeah, of course it will. And it was, and from that moment on for 2 years, it was just crazy. It was nuts. I mean, it was 20 years ago, just about, and the times were different, right? So the news of the world was massive. Paps were massive, and EastEnders were getting themselves in all sorts of trouble. The cast were getting themselves in all sorts of bother and scrapes. And it was just that time when a show like EastEnders was getting 8 million viewers. And I always remember Shane Richie saying to me he said, if you think of a football stadium and you think that's like 60,000 people, and you see all those faces and you realize that 8 million people are watching this every night. It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. But great to be a part of.
And did it make it a bit easier because obviously you were joining the show as part of a sort of a duo with obviously Danny, who was playing your brother. Did that make it any easier, or was that
No, I don't think so. Um, I think we were sort of rolled out as the new bad boys, and then obviously we weren't there for very long. Then they kind of went, oh, there was some sort of internal wranglings, which meant that we were sort of surplus to requirement, and then we had this kind of most bizarre and wonderful thing with Heat magazine. They did this sort of campaign to bring us back, and I was lucky enough to get asked back, and sort of went back, and then I was there for another year and a half. So yeah, it was interesting. I mean, EastEnders is never a straightforward part. There's you are part of a huge cast, huge production team, and I think no one. There was always a saying that no one is ever bigger than the show, and that's absolutely true. You're a cog in a very, very well established 40-year-old show. So when I went back last year for a day, it was quite a trip down memory lane.
I mean, was that ever confused? Because obviously you played the role of Jake Moon, and
Yeah. The Jake and the Danny thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Jake Maskell obviously played Danny. But was there ever a kind of a confusion with
Oh yeah.
Jake?
Every day. Every day. So every day, Danny would get called in, and Jake, and then Jake would be like, no, this is the other way around. I think we tried at the beginning, but obviously, you feel like you're kind of a new kid at school, so you don't say too much. You keep quiet. We said, "Well, can we just not swap it? Just swap it round. It'll be a lot easier." I'm glad we didn't in the end, but yeah, it would have been a lot easier. But there was a lot of confusion. Yeah,
Because
yeah.
also correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe before that you played a character called Joel on Holby. So was that easier knowing that your
I
character and your name were
I
the same?
did. Yeah, do you know what? I think it. Yeah, I just played the role, and it was Joel. It's like, oh, it's very rare that it's Joel. It was easy to answer to. Yeah,
Now, obviously, on EastEnders, you got to do a lot with Tracy-Ann Oberman, who's fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
for you, getting to go back and be a part of her return storyline, because it wasn't announced beforehand that you were going to be in that episode. It took me a bit of time to clock on that it was you, because I think you were even in a scene. I kind of halfway through went, "Oh, well, there we go." Didn't realize,
yeah.
it was so unexpected. But what was that like to go back and be a part, with Tracy-Ann again?
Well, firstly, it was when I mean, I must admit, when they asked and said, "Do you want to come back?" and you sort of think, okay, that would be nice. Everyone wants to keep working, and then they went for an episode. I was a bit like, well, I'm dead, but clearly not. And we all remember Dallas. I'm supposed to be dead, and then I kept thinking to myself, what can they possibly do in an episode? What can we do that's going to make this all wrapped up in one neat episode? Anyway, and I got the scene, and obviously I spoke to Tracy-Ann, and it was like, yeah, why not? And it was great. It was a day. I mean, it was really the sort of secrecy was great, and I'm really pleased that we managed to keep it a secret. There was lots of visits for costume in sort of blacked out cars and things like that, and just sort of running under tunnels to get through and not be seen. So yeah, it was great, and then to be there, and of course for me the really weird, strange thing was that they're on the new set, so it was like going, I'll say going home, but going back to where it all began and seeing the house that I used to live in and all this, and being outside the Vic again, and then just but everything. I said it was a bit like I said the whole set was a bit like an iPhone upgrade. Suddenly it was like, oh, we've got the new model, and it was really weird. And as the day went on, one thing we noticed, and somebody said, "You'll notice one thing." I said, "Yeah, I know what you're going to say. The sun sets in a different place, and it sets in a different place than it did 20 years ago, but it's still the same. It's just everything's a little bit less scruffy and works a little bit better." But yeah, it was lovely to be back.
Now, obviously, you got to also do a bit of a scene with Shane Ritchie, although unfortunately we didn't get to see you guys interact. But to get to see him again and just like you said, to be back in that environment must have been quite nice. But would you have liked to have done a scene with Shane, do you think?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's quite a few people in there I'd like to have done a scene with, but Shane especially. I mean, we had such a great relationship when we were there on and off screen, and it was just lovely to see him. I haven't seen him for a while. It was lovely to see him, and just that is seeing Shane smile, obviously, which can light up a room, and we just had a big hug, and it was him seeing Tracy-Ann. But of course, the problem was I couldn't really go anywhere else. Although I have to say, one thing that was quite funny in true EastEnders style was kind of we kept it all under wraps, and as you saw in the scene, Jake's obviously done all right for himself. Pulls up, nice suit, and considering he's supposed to be dead, and pulls up in an old vintage V12 Jaguar E-Type convertible. And of course, when we got there, they said, "Well, do you want to have a practice in it?" I said, "Well, yeah, can do, but I'd probably be right." I said, "No, just drive it around the car park." So there's me driving a convertible all around the EastEnders car park. So I think if people didn't know I was there that day, they certainly did after that.
I mean, that must have been quite nice as well to kind of play that kind of different side to the character, because obviously last time we saw him, he wasn't doing very well, and
No,
obviously life was a bit kind of different, but now
yeah,
he's kind of that new kind of made, self-made man. I mean, we don't know
yeah.
how he got the money, but
No,
he's
I
doing
mean,
well.
I mean, I can surmise how. I sort of went through a few stories in my head how he got there. I don't know, when he came back, the fact that he's with Tracy, and he knows her past and he knows where she's been for the last however many years. I think there's probably the darker side. Maybe it's taken over slightly, and wherever they're off to, who knows?
Mm.
And will they return? Who
Yeah.
knows?
I mean, that's one thing I think the fans were kind of secretly hoping that they would still be together all this time, but you don't know because she's been in prison. Um, if the opportunity came about, would you go back? Would you if if Tracy-Ann was up for it as well, would you go back?
Yeah, I mean, of course, always consider it. Like I said, you just want to keep working, whatever that is, and jobs are hard. Being an actor is a hard game. It's a hard game to stay in as well. So this whole kind of notion of, well, maybe I'll consider it. Yeah, of course. If I was available, absolutely, why not? We've all got mortgages to pay, but it'd be great. And I think I definitely think there's a storyline there. And if Tracy-Ann wasn't so bloody busy, maybe that would sort of would appear. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, it would be good to see Jake and Chrissy coming back.
Now, obviously, you have done so much over your career, but is there, first of all, would you say EastEnders is a career highlight, or is there another project that for you has been a sort of a
Oh,
highlight
I
of,
think yeah. I mean, I think The Office obviously is for me. Um, just to be part. I don't think there's a show. I mean, EastEnders is its own entity, right? So if you take that away, I could say things like working with Tom Hanks on Band of Brothers. That was an amazing experience. But as a career highlight, I think The Office is hard to beat purely because it was such a phenomenon, and also the fact that everybody in it, it wasn't expected to do anything, and it was so brilliant. And it's the memories I have of that show are fantastic. And just it was such a I don't know, it was such a piece that was done together. It was such a good bit of sort of teamwork. And Ricky wasn't known, Stephen wasn't known, Martin wasn't known, Mackenzie, Lucy. It was a great thing. In fact, I met up with Patrick Balladie the other week, and we were just reminiscing just how good it was. And even now, 25 years later, it's got a brand new league of fans to absolutely adore it. The younger, and I'm getting younger audiences who are rewatching it coming up and talking to me about it and asking me all about it. So it just proves that it stands the test of time. It's a fantastic show, and it always will be.
and obviously, being that Ricky Gervais was from Reading, which is where we're based, and Slough is not far from us. I mean, where did it actually get filmed? Because I imagine it probably wasn't Slough.
No, it was filmed in. That was the great thing about it. So what was brilliant about The Office, which a lot of people don't realise from a technical point of view, it was filmed in Teddington Studios, and it was actually filmed in I think it was an X magazine office, but it was laid out as an office. So that wasn't a set; that was an office. What people don't realise is which made that show so special, or so not so easy, but so available to change, was the idea that you have a single camera, and usually you have a single camera and you have the lights set up. And if somebody says, what about if we did it this way? You're the DOP or the lighting guys will just go, no, I'm not doing that, because it will take hours to reset everything. With this, there was only one lighting setup. So the lights were in the ceiling. And of course, it was documentary style, so it was on the shoulder. So it didn't matter what was in the background. It didn't matter everyone was at their desk working. It was all set up. So you could just say, well, let's try this, let's try that. And you could do it, which gave you that freedom to really be, really make it what it was and be creative in any way. And it gave us as actors the opportunity, and Ricky and Steve were brilliant, letting us kind of go, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to try it this way? I thought, yeah, try it. There's a scene I did where I come in and I push, there was a loaded dialogue, and I pushed Martin up against one of the office cupboards, and because he's been flirting with Dawn. And that's it. And there was a whole scene beforehand where there was dialogue. And I said, can we just try this? And we did it. And we did it in one take. And they're like, yeah, great, moving on. That's so much better. And so it was all that kind of thing that you could do, which again, when I look back at that show, I mean, obviously, I was lucky to be in it, full stop, but my bits were kind of in and out. When I look back at that show, it really sort of highlights the kind of freedom of being an actor and the way it should be. Even from the audition, there was no scripts. It was about acting. It was about being creative and making it your own.
And I mean, I imagine there must have been a lot of time when you're having to pretend to do work, tapping away at a
Well, no,
keyboard.
because I wasn't. I was in the warehouse, so I was never in the office, which was quite easy for me. I've got a good friend of mine, Jamie Deeks, who was in it, who I again saw with Patrick, and he was saying, that he remembers they coming in every day, but for him it was brilliant because he was getting a masterclass in acting from Martin, in screen acting, from Martin, Mackenzie, from Ricky, from Patrick, just being able to sit there and watch what these guys were doing. And obviously Ricky, messing around every single take and laughing like a hyena. But that's Ricky, right?
Now, I mean, obviously going forward, is there a dream job for you, a dream role, something that if it came along, that would be your kind of your dream? What would you love to do going forward?
Well, you know what? I think that people get asked this all the time, and the dream role is just to keep working. That is the dream role. There isn't, you hope. I mean, I've been doing this 30 years. I'm still looking for my break, right? Like so many other actors, we're still in it. I mean, I just, this year I've got the Feud out. I've just Call the Midwife. Was back in EastEnders last year. But it's not easy. So my dream role is just to keep working and find something that will just keep me going, something that will take me through, and something that I'm proud of. I think as long as you're proud of what you do, as long as you enjoy what you do, then that is your dream. Because it's not really like working, I think I'd like to do more theatre, I think, if anything. But I've got two small kids, so going on tour or doing that thing is a bit impossible now.
And
I don't know if that answers the question.
yeah, no, definitely. And it must be quite nice as well, because obviously you're doing your coaching as well, so you can kind of give back and give your advice and your kind of your experience forward to sort of, people that are maybe just starting out. So that must
Well,
be
yeah,
quite nice.
that's true. I think some people underestimate the amount of experience that you build up over 30 years. Like when you see on the TV, a surgeon with 20 years experience, you go, okay, that's 20 years. I think, well, I'll be doing 30 years. And so you do. I mean, I've been lucky. I've been an actor, I've been a director, I've been a producer. I mean, and I've had an amazing voiceover career, which is something that I love doing and have always loved doing it. Sadly, that is not as easy as it was. Nothing's as easy the older you get, right? But that experience counts for a lot. And if you can impart some of that knowledge onto someone coming through the ranks, or even pass that knowledge onto someone in a completely different industry, that can give them confidence, that can give them that confidence to perform better, or just meet someone in the street better, behave better, or it's fantastic. And I love that buzz. Yeah, I love the buzz of coaching.
And obviously, people might not, notice, but because you do the voice for Smooth, correct me if I'm wrong.
I do,
Another,
yeah.
so that must be quite fun to do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. It's always, I mean, I think one year I did 300 voiceovers in a year, selling, mostly commercials. And it was always lovely to go up to someone and just, oh, you bought that, have you? And then just do the commercial in their ear. And they're like, whoa, that's you. It's like, yeah, that's me. So yes, I do Smooth. That's quite funny especially when we live where we live at the moment. It's quite rural. And I go into a shop and they're playing Smooth or something. I go, that's me. And they've had it on for like years and they've no idea. It's always a bit fun.
Now, so we are nearing the end, but just before we go, I thought, obviously we're doing this for, sort of Hospital Radio Reading and the NHS. So I thought we'd ask kind of what would be your messages to any of the amazing NHS staff? What would you like to say to them? Plus also any of the patients that are listening, what would you like to say to them?
I'd just like to say to all the NHS staff, thank you. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for all the time you give, all the love you give, and I think the NHS at the moment is under such pressure, and you never see that. You may see, I mean, I remember the last time I was in hospital, I saw a nurse in tears and it really, really upset me. And we actually had a hug, bizarrely. But and then she just got on with the day and looked after me and everyone else. And they're so tired, and they're so under that pressure. But I just want to say thank you, and we appreciate everything you do. And to all the patients, hang in there. You'll come through it, and I hope you will all get well and have a lovely, lovely summer ahead of you.
And obviously, in the meantime, they can catch up on the Feud if they haven't watched it.
Please
Thoroughly
do.
recommend it.
On My Five, yeah, currently, yeah.
Now, Joel, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving up your time. You're welcome back anytime. Yeah, keep safe.
Nice to meet you.